Hey guys! So today I wanted to share with you a little story. It's a true story from my life, so if you want to know, just keep watching. Our story begins about 5 years ago. I was 19 years old and I went with my best friend to a concert in LA. And I saw this band that I was obsessed with. I loved their music so much. And especially for some reason, the drummer in the band, I saw him on stage and I immediately connected with him. I was like, oh my gosh, who is that? He just there was something about his energy and his vibe that I was just I kind of felt like I just wanted to sit down and talk with him and know who he was and his story. So this was back in the days more of Facebook. And the band they each had Facebooks where they would talk to fans. So after the concert, I went ahead and messaged all three of them and just said hey, I went to your show. It was amazing. You guys are super talented. And I didn't expect to get a reply because I was just a fan. But for some reason, the only one to reply was the drummer. So he replied to me and he was just hey, do you live in the LA area? And I was like, what? Oh my gosh, he's asking me where I live. I think he might have seen that I was in a band and maybe he felt like we were kind of in the same, it wasn't weird, I guess. So we started talking on Facebook and he had asked me to hang out, but we never hung out. It's just he kind of just stopped replying to my messages. That was in July. So then 6 months later, fast forward to January, and they had another concert in LA, and right before the concert I actually ordered a t-shirt from their merch website online. And it was so weird because I've ordered t-shirts from bands many times, and this one I got it in the mail and it had a little sticky note on it that said, hey Catherine, I hope you're doing well, from, I'll just say his name is Tom, that's not his name, but from Tom. And I was like, oh my gosh, he gave me a note with the shirt. It was so crazy. Such a fangirl moment. So I went to the concert. It was me, Lisa, and Michael, my siblings. We were standing in line outside of the venue, and I was just chatting with the other people who were in line for the show. And suddenly the three band members come walking down the street, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's him right there, in person right there. And he started going up to all of the fans that were in line and just saying hi to them. And then he came over to me and I was like, oh, there's no way he's gonna remember me. We just messaged on Facebook. And then he came to me, he's like, you're Catherine, aren't you? And I was like, yes, I am. I was so nervous. And he just started talking to me, and it was kind of definitely had a flirtatious tone to it. And I was several years younger than him, so I was kind of just didn't really know what to do. And then he was like, are you cold? Even though I was wearing a full-on coat, but he was like, oh, are you cold? And I was like, oh no, I'm good. And he was like, no, seriously, you should take my hoodie, so you're not cold. And I was like, okay. So he gave me his hoodie, so I put it on under my coat, and these girls behind me in line were like, he just gave you his hoodie, oh my gosh, so crazy. And then after the show, he came out, because it was a bunch of different bands playing that night. So he came out and he stood next to me and watched the next band play or whatever. And we just briefly talked, but it was kind of a telling moment for me because I saw all these girls come over to him and they were just fawning all over him, oh my gosh, you were so good, and kind of being touchy-feely, just putting their arm on him. And it just made me feel kind of not good. I was like, oh cool, I'm just another fan, I'm just another girl, this is dumb. So I kind of just gave him his hoodie and I was like, okay, see ya, didn't really expect anything. Fast forward and it's another 10, 11 months later. So that was in January. Now we're in November the following year. So this whole thing happened over the course of a year and a half. So November comes and they put up a Facebook message saying their band was breaking up. And I was like, oh my gosh, no. And they'd say that Tom was leaving the band. So I ended up messaging him for the first time in months. And I was just like, hey, Tom, I'm so sorry to hear about your band breaking up. I hope everything's okay. It's not going to be the same without you, whatever. Such a fan thing to say. And he ended up replying and was like, I am so sorry that I never hung out with you. I really want to get together with you. Finally, we were supposed to so long ago. And I think you just seem such a special person and all this stuff. And I was just like, oh my gosh. At this point I was 20 and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So I ended up finally hanging out with him after a year and a half. So we went to a place in Santa Monica and we went for Mexican food. And I remember he walked in and He was wearing this like black leather jacket and he just looked so cute. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is such a moment. Like, I just felt like it wasn't real. But at the same time, when I was going there, I kind of like wasn't putting much on it, because I was like, you know what? I'm just like a random girl to him. Like, he has many of those, so it's not like anything. And I just wasn't really thinking too much about it. But anyways, we went to the restaurant and we ended up talking for an hour and a half before we even ordered our food. Like, we just had this like immediate magnetic connection, and like could not stop talking to each other. Like, it was crazy. And we finally ordered our food and he like paid for it too, which was really nice. And then he took me to a concert of one of his other friends' bands. We watched them play, and then he like held my hand. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so scary. Cause like, we've only like, met officially 2 times, but I was like, oh my gosh. We ended up hanging out for 7 hours, and we went to the restaurant, went to the concert, and then we went and got peppermint tea at this little cafe that was open until like 2 in the morning, and just like talked and talked and talked for hours. We went back to my car and he like paid for my parking, which was really nice, and it was just like a really, really nice, amazing night. So I actually have my journal entry from when I had this night with him, so I wanted to share it with you guys, because it's really like me being super sappy and like dramatic, because that's just how I am. But okay, here is my first impression of Tom. Not Tom. He is the sweetest, most warm-hearted, adorable, loving, and lovable person I've ever met. Whoa, dramatic. He is charming, affectionate, funny, smart, interesting, adventurous, and we get along flawlessly. We were together for over 7 hours tonight, and we talked so easily, and I felt so cared for, cherished, and safe with him. The best part was it was so natural. There was no forcefulness, there were no fake smiles exchanged. It was real and so easy and so simple. He was just so kind and caring, and he had the eyes of an angel. I told him all this stuff about God and religion and what it all means to me, and he was fascinated and very respectful and caring. I know it's just infatuation, and I know that he doesn't have a plan in his life right now, and he's not very religious, which, like, some people that doesn't matter, but I'm religious, so that's just something that personally matters to me in a person. He's just all around not my list in a lot of ways. I know it won't last. He ended up texting me the other night and he was like, I'm so glad I met you. Like, I'm so happy that you're in my life. Like, when can I see you again? And like, you just made me so happy tonight. And I was just like, oh my gosh, my heart. But the next morning I woke up and I just had this feeling like that it wasn't meant to be. So the next day, this is what I wrote. Today was one of the heaviest and hardest days I've had in a long time. I cried again and again, each time surprised by the newfound sadness I felt. I am shocked at how deep the sadness seems to run. I thought about Tom almost all day and my heart ached. I talked to Christina and Lisa, my sisters, about him this morning, and they made their disapproval clear. And I know they had good points and a lot of truth, but they weren't there when he was being so genuinely kind to me. And all the time he put his arm around me, he just rang with affection and sweetness. And I didn't sense one creepy vibe. Believe me, I know what those feel like. So yeah. And he just said he was thinking about me all last night and this morning. So anyways, basically what I decided was I just didn't feel right about it. So I asked him to give me a few days to like think if I should continue like getting to know him. And so 2 nights later, I got together with my very, very wise friend. She's older than me. She's like, I think she was in her 40s and I was like 20 years old. So she's older and she was like a mentor for me. So I was like just so like hurt because I'd never felt such a deep connection with someone before and just like talked so easily. But at the same time, he didn't really have a plan for his life. Like, he was older than me and he didn't have like a lot of faith in God, and that's something that's just really important to me. So I didn't know what to do. So I talked to my mentor person. I told her about Tom, and she gave me such a new perspective on that. She told me that he is in a place where he is finding his identity, and before he finds that, the last thing he needs is a relationship. She said that he and I gave each other gifts. I opened the door for him to find himself and God, and he showed me that it does exist, a person who I connect with so deeply, and that I do need that warm and genuine personality that he has. But we both saw that he isn't what I'm looking for, and she told me that I was so brave for coming clean and being honest with him. I ended up reaching out to him that night after I just talked with Olivia, my friend, and just prayed so much and thought about it, and I just realized that we were in totally different places in life, even though like I had such a deep connection with him, and I just texted him actually, such a coward. I was just like, hey, I'm so sorry, but I thought about it so much. I just don't really think this, I don't like have a good feeling. I don't think this is right. And so we didn't end up being together. But the last thing he said to me was, thanks for being you, which I think was such a nice thing to say. So yeah, it's been years since then and we haven't really talked since then, and I've dated a lot of other people since then and had that connection with other people, and I know he's married now and in a great relationship it seems like, so all is good. But I hope my story was interesting to you and that maybe you learned something about me or about dating or anything. And if you guys have any like questions or anything about dating or need advice, you can always hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter is @KathSim, so check it out. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!